Happy New Year. Happy 2026, people. It is my pleasure to be back on the set of Rainy Days podcast. This is episode 3 of a new year 2026. And for you guys, what is Rainy Days? Rainy Days is an opportunity for us to offer information on home ownership because we understand home ownership is more than just buying a house. It's about building life, creating memories, and navigating challenges, both big and small. Rainy Days is dedicated to helping you make the most of your homeownership experience with bringing on guests that have practical advice, provide emotional support, and provide a sense of community. It is my honor and pleasure today to have a member of Rainy on the set today that is going to talk to you about home ownership and how to navigate through insurance. But Ms. Tara Witham from American Family, owner, operator, and has been a member of Rainy for what, 3-4 years?
Yeah, 4 years, I think.
There we go. I was going to say, I remember when you came on.
Yeah, it's
So,
been,
yes.
yeah. Thank you for having me today. I love what Rainy does and stands for and the opportunity to share a not always exciting topic with people, but very necessary.
Yeah, no question. And Rainy, hey, we're going to make everything fun, and we're going to get information to people in a fun way. So,
Absolutely.
When we talk home ownership, everybody knows I'm a mortgage lender. And the one thing that we talk about you need is, hey, you have to have a year of home ownership first. But what exactly is home ownership for folks that don't know? Home ownership insurance.
Homeowners insurance, it's vitally important, and especially if you have a mortgage, you as the lender can say it's required. It's not even something that you may want to have or pay for, but it's something that's necessary and required to have, and it protects that house. It protects it in case there's a fire or heavy winds or theft, and it gives you back what you worked so hard and invested in to achieve.
Gotcha. So you touched on some things. So break it down to us in segments. What all does homeowners insurance cover? Because like you said, people, you invest in that property and God forbid something happens, you want to have that protection. What all does homeowners?
Yeah, homeowners insurance, it's very individualized, but at a high level, it's going to cover a few main categories: the dwelling itself, and if you have outbuildings or outstructures, your personal property. So I say, tip your house upside down and everything that falls, that's your stuff. So
Mhm.
it's going to cover all of your personal property, your clothing and your furniture and electronics, your liability. So let's say somebody comes on your property, slips and falls and gets injured and you're responsible, or if you accidentally damage somebody else's property. It's going to cover additional living expenses. So you have that big fire and you can't live in your house for a year while it's being rebuilt. You got to pay to live somewhere. So additional living expenses will cover that. And then there's lots of different optional coverages that you can get, like flood insurance, earthquake, sewer backup, just different optional add-ons and things. But it's very unique to your particular property because your house may not be like my house. You may have more stuff inside than I have. You may have more outbuildings. So it should be customized for you. But at a high level, that's what your homeowner's
Gotcha. I
insurance
may
is.
have a DJ booth in my home.
Exactly. You may. And then I'm just going to become your best friend and we're going to hang out at your DJ booth all the time.
There you go. Do
There you go.
podcasting.
There you go.
Now you make it sounds awful simple and kind of standard. So is all insurance, is it equal? I mean, does it matter which agent I go to?
I heard this phrase when I first became an agent many years ago, that insurance is only as good as your agent. And over the years, I've looked at a lot of deck pages, and your deck page is that piece of paper that basically tells me what all kind of coverages you have. And the number of times that I've seen people overinsured or drastically underinsured is still kind of surprising to me. So, yes, it does matter who your agent is, and you always want it to be hopefully somebody that you know, like, and trust, and that will be available for you, but that is educated and can educate you, because this is important stuff. And every one of those numbers on that piece of paper that is your deck page means something. And the price is absolutely important. We're all consumers. I am just as well, and I I pay my dollars and I want the coverage that I need. but it's never an ideal to sacrifice the coverage that you need for the price. So having an agent who can educate you and really understand what your unique needs are and present you your options so that you can make a good decision is really vital. So
Okay, speak more to having not having enough insurance, being
yeah,
underinsured, and
yeah.
what problems that could cause. Speak to that.
Yeah, so we've had, whenever you have a claim, that's not the time to find out if you have enough insurance. You don't want to be overinsured, but you know, you have, we were talking earlier about if you wanted to have that DJ booth in your house, how expensive that would be to set up. And maybe you're using it for your own personal use, but you've invested $30,000 in sound equipment and getting that all set up. But if we never had that conversation and I didn't ask you those questions and you didn't even think to tell me, and you have a fire next week, if I don't know about it, it's not going to be covered and there may not be enough money in your policy to give that back to you. So that's what being underinsured is. Maybe you put on a home edition and put a whole second story on your house, but you never ask your agent and your agent never did an insurance review. How would we know? And how would we have enough money in your policy to put things right? So it's about making sure that you really look at everything. And, there is this thing called self insurance. You can have that DJ booth and you go, you know what? Me and my buddies did this in the garage. And if it burns down to the ground tomorrow, I don't really care if I get it back again. I don't use it that often. That's fine.
Mm.
But at least you know and you've made a good decision beforehand. And it's not when you're in the midst of a claim that I have to tell you, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't bother to do my job. So now you're just not properly protected.
Gotcha. And it's funny because in listening to you talk, we're talking about additions onto the home and things of that nature. And you spoke a little bit about personal property.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about like things like wedding rings and things, jewelry that
Yeah.
is expenses and above and beyond. How are those handled in policies?
Yeah, that's a great question. And a lot of people just assume, well, I have homeowners insurance, so that's what's it's covered. And there are items that we call them, they're scheduled items, things that are easily lost. My husband has a mini Home Depot in our shed. And I keep telling him, I go, honey, do you realize that if somebody breaks in and steals all those tools, there's a limit on our policy as to how much they're covered? My wedding ring, there's going to be very specific small limits. So there are certain items, if they are high value, that are not inherently just automatically covered on your policy. So that would be some of those optional coverages so that you can choose to disclose exactly how much you paid for that item and make sure that you have the necessary coverages if you want to actually replace it and not just get a nominal amount of insurance for you. So that's, again, having that conversation with your agent and having an agent who will ask you the right questions and you not just assuming, because it's not really your job to understand all of those. It's mine. I'm the one who has the license. I have that culpability to really talk to you and understand your needs and make sure that I'm covering you the way you should be.
And it's funny you talk about that and having the correct agent. One of the things that we emphasize on every one of the different shows that I do or when I'm out in the community is that relationship
Absolutely.
that you have. I talk about the relationship with the realtor, the relationship with your lender. Everybody is unique to their own individual circumstances.
Absolutely.
And so I'm hearing you speak to that. That is absolutely great. And what do you say during these times that we have now where every time I log on, my phone, social media, whatever, they're pushing people. You don't need an agent. All you got to do is plug in your zip code and such is going to hook you up with insurance. Can you speak to that a little bit?
I'm never going to dog my competition and tell people that that's the wrong thing. However, I had someone call me recently and say, hey, I have this other company and I've called their call center so many times and I keep getting different answers. I can't get anybody to answer the phone. They don't have, I just can't get the help that I need. I'm struggling and I don't know what to do. And I say, that's why I encourage people to have a local agent, because it's all well and fine to do everything online until you actually have an issue and you need to talk to an actual person and ideally be able to hang up the phone and call back a little bit later and still talk to that same person and not have to beg for a return phone call or beg for accurate information. So each person does it at their own comfort level, and that's one of the things I love about our agency is that we try to meet people where they are. So if you
Mhm.
tell me you like to text, fine, let's text. If you want to email, if you want to talk over the phone, if you want to see in person. So hopefully if you do have some, you know, you want those, I want more technology and less face-to-face interaction, you can find an agent who can meet you where you are and provide the service that you want in the way that you want. But I am an agent who has a local agent. I want somebody that I can actually call, because the number of times I've had people call me and go, "Thank you. I this was so much easier. I didn't have to call some random 800 number and hope that somebody would answer my call." That's my perspective. But everybody
Yeah.
can have their own choice.
Amen to that. And I'll say personally, my agent, his dad was my grandfather's agent, and now he's my agent. So I mean, our families have
Yeah.
been connected for a number
Yeah.
of years. And to your
And
point,
and you grow that trust.
you
You
go to trust.
Yeah.
I pick up the phone, I call, and I'm like, I can tell him, and and just making sure that it's going to be handled.
Yep.
So
Exactly. Very much that. And by the same token, we've had clients who've been had incidents with other carriers and they go, "I don't even know where to start." That's another perk of having a local agent is hopefully they will be available to you to help you if you have incidents with another carrier. So
yeah, yeah,
there are
and
perks to it.
yeah, and I'll say this too, not to be the dead horse as we're talking about relationships. I have a lot of friends, other friends that are my age that are insurance agents,
Yeah.
and oh hey, they want my business, and I gave them the solid of looking at my coverages and everything, and it's two different guys, and they both looked and said, hey, he's got you where you need to be. And that was, comforting to me because I mean they could have told a story or
Yeah.
said just to get my business, but they understood and they said, hey, you're fine where you're at. Now back to actual insurance itself.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the deductible because
Yeah.
I know we talk about coverages and that it comes up in everything as far as how much affordability and all that good stuff. So
Yeah, so deductibles are really important, and I don't think people always understand that the general rule of thumb is the higher the deductible, the lower the premium. Where I push back on people and ask them to think about things is you don't want to set your deductible so low that you go, "Well, I only want a $500 deductible." First of all, most carriers aren't offering that anymore, but you don't want to set that deductible so low because it will adversely affect your premiums. I've had clients who've had low deductibles and I have conversations with them. I go, "Why are you giving the insurance the money, that extra money every year when you haven't filed a claim for 20 years? Keep that money in your own pocket." Conversely, you don't want it so high, $10,000, $5,000 that you go, "Well, I can never file a claim because that is cost prohibitive for me. I don't even have that money to start." So it is something you want to talk to your agent about and find a good amount that works for you, but that also makes your prices more competitive. The other thing I'll say is that a lot of carriers are going to now what's called a percentage deductible. Again, that's fine. Uh, but I don't know that people always understand it. When I see and I look at my deck page and it says $2,500 deductible, that's a flat number. It's going to be that amount, and that I can wrap my brain around it. But a lot of carriers are starting to do what's called a percentage deductible, which is do you know what a percentage deductible is?
this is the first time I heard of
Okay,
it.
so a percentage deductible is a percent of whatever your house is insured for. So I'm not I'm not a math person, but let's just use simple numbers. Let's say your house is insured for $500,000 for replacement costs.
Mhm.
You have a 1% deductible. That means your deductible is $5,000. If you have a 0.5% deductible, it'd be $2,500. Each year, typically, your value of your home, the replacement cost increases. So you start today at a 1% deductible of 500,000, but what happens in 10 years when that replacement cost has climbed to 750,000? Well, your deductible continues to climb with
Yeah.
that as well. So percent deductibles are fine, but understand that that's what that number means, and don't think that one means $1,000 or something. And that's really all it is making sure that people are educated. I've had clients come to me and hand me quotes that they've gotten from their carriers and go, Tara, this number is way lower. Why can't you get my rates this low? And I go, okay, well, thank you. Let me look at things. And I go, okay, yeah. Did you know that they quoted you with a $10,000 deductible? No, I don't want to have a $10,000 deductible. Well, that's why that price is so low. If I lower my, if I raise my deductible, I'm going to lower it too. So I encourage people to look at what their deductible is, and is it where you think it is or what you thought it would be, because that deductible can make a huge difference on your price and make it seem like you're paying very little, except that if you have a claim, you've got a lot out of
Correct.
pocket.
You need insurance for your deductible.
You
I
do.
mean, wow, 10 grand. That's
Exactly.
that's a lot.
Exactly.
And you touched on stuff. Talked about claims.
Yeah.
What are some tips you have for people to regarding filing claims?
Yeah. So I always tell people that the first thing I'm going to say is, if you experience a claim situation, whatever it is, whatever time of day, do whatever you can to protect your property from further loss. I joke that a claim scene is not a crime scene. You don't have to, protect the sanctity of it to make sure. You want to stop whatever. If it's raining down in your house, get a tarp on your roof. If there's a pipe that's burst and water is flooding into your house, turn that water off so that less water is not keeping on coming in. If there's a fire, put the fire out. Protect your home from further loss. That's your first thing. Uh, if it's something that is not pre- preventing you from living in your house and being safe, can you wait until the next morning when you can call your agent and have a conversation with them to see, is this something that I want to start a claim for? Is this even a covered loss? Um, I would also say, if you start doing anything, save receipts, take pictures, document, document, document. If you had to rip up the flooring, save a piece of the floor. If you had to tear out a counter, a cabinet, save a piece of it so that the adjuster has that information. Because the more documentation, the more receipts that you can submit to the adjuster of your claim, it will make things go much smoother. And work with your agent. Your agent should be working for you and helping you along the way of the claim, because it can be a long, arduous process. And you want somebody who will hopefully be there to walk alongside you and help guide you when you have a question, or if the adjuster is speaking in claim language and you go, I don't quite understand what they're saying. Rely on your agent, so hopefully they can help you navigate things, because it can be a very scary and frustrating time.
Oh, no question. I love that analogy. You said it's not a crime scene, because that's the
Yes.
first thing people say. I can't
I
touch
can't.
anything.
No, you can protect your house.
Protect your house, and then, as you like you said, document. So at the very least, take some pictures that you
Exactly.
have to show, but get the thing safe. And
Anything you're paying for out of pocket. If you had to call somebody to come and tarp up your window because it was busted out with a tree branch, save the receipt. If you had to get somebody in to remove water from your home because a pipe burst, save the receipt. So save your receipts and take lots of pictures.
all righty.
Yeah.
Now, see, look, we breezed through that. You worried about if we are gonna get through that? We breathe right through that home
Yeah.
ownership. And our illustrious leader, Linda Golden, had asked, could you speak to people about life insurance, and what is it and how
Yeah.
important is it?
It's, to me, I don't know if it might be the most important thing that I help people with, because too often I see people pass away far too young. And the number one thing that breaks my heart is seeing GoFundMe's pop up on social media where people are asking for help because they didn't have life insurance. And life insurance is basically just insurance on you. So you and your wife might have decided that you need to have a policy so that if anything happens to you, she would receive a check, so that she can help keep things going on after you've passed away. And when you're a homeowner, that is especially important, because, you know, especially if you're the primary breadwinner, or if you are the person staying home with the children so that the other person can work, you two rely on one another to keep things going. So that life insurance can be vitally important if there's a mortgage and those big bills and you still have people at home that need you. Uh, there is something that I've heard called mortgage protection insurance, which basically is written through the mortgage, that automatically pays off the house in the event of somebody passing. And I tell people that's fine if that's all you can get. It's not ideal. It's not what I would recommend to my clients, because maybe you were fortunate enough to lock in on a 3% interest rate, which aren't we all praying for those days again? But your mortgage payment is really low. You're not worried about that, but you've got some high interest credit cards. You've got some immediate cash needs that you need that money. So I always recommend, if you can, have a policy of your own that you control, that doesn't necessarily say it's going to pay off the mortgage, so that you decide how that money is best going to help you and your family when you need it. But I highly recommend that everyone have their own life insurance outside of their job that they can control, because things happen in the blink of an eye, car accidents and illnesses, and it's always best to protect yourself, but mostly I call them a love policy. It's to protect those that you love in case the worst happens to you.
There you go. And I love the fact that you spoke on the mortgage insurance side of it, because here I am as a lender. There's people that, you offer that to them. But to your point, if you have life insurance, you don't necessarily need the other, because you're taken care of. What's the average? What kind of pricing would somebody be looking at on a life insurance policy?
Yeah, I mean, if you are, everything comes down to health and age. Those are the biggest things that impact the price of life insurance. So the younger you get it, the lower your prices are going to be. But if you're a 30, 40-year-old, overall generally healthy man, a $500,000 life insurance policy you could get for $45 a month. But I always tell people, lock it in while you're young and healthy. The moment to call me and ask me for life insurance is not after you just left your doctor's office and they told you you've got 6 months to live. It's very little, if anything, that I can do to help you. So get it while you're young and healthy, and lock that in.
All right, perfect, perfect. Look, you're the expert over here. Anything that you omitted or wanted to shout out to the people, let them know your website. How can people get in touch with you if they had insurance needs?
Yeah, so my agency is over on the southwest side of town, but we're available online at our website, withamagencyprotects.com, and we're on social media. You can always give our office a call at 260-434-4440. We would love to just be a resource for people. Sometimes, much like you were saying about your friends taking a look, I look at deck pages all the time, and I tell people, I'll be very candid with you. You got a great thing. I can't touch this. I don't see any gaps in coverage for you. So even if you just have a simple question, we're happy to be a resource for you. So please feel free to reach out and let us know what questions you have. And if you already have homeowners insurance, but you haven't taken care of that life insurance, we can help with that too.
All righty. Perfect. And I will say this, people. I mean, you sat here. Proof is in the pudding. You heard the information that Tara offered. You heard how thorough she is, and she is definitely a person that is caring. She's in RANI. And when you're in RANI is a group of professionals that come together and is trying to better serve our community. She's given her time. Nobody is paid to be in RANI. We actually pay to be in RANI
yes,
to do things for people. And that is the way I always look at it. I talk about our community and how unique it is, because in RANI, we have lenders, we have insurance agents, we have realtors, everybody coming together for the greater good of our community. So, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
And I would like to say this on behalf of RANI and RANI Days. Again, I would like to congratulate and celebrate Linda Golden as she is stepping down from her presidency of RANI. And we would like to welcome Larissa Williams. Larissa Williams is our new president of RANI. So looking for Larissa to do great things in 2026, and looking forward to it. And our next episode, we're going to have Larissa on, and Kyra from Fort Wayne Housing Authority, and they will be talking about the emotional side of homeownership. So again, I'm your host, JJ Foster from Lake City Bank. It has been a pleasure to serve you, and we are out of here, and we will see you in our next episode.